Hello, World of Tank Blitzers, it's Littlefinger. Happy Friday, December 22nd, and yes, it's time for a store review. Just a few days before Christmas, so I wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining me on this ride this year. I know I didn't post near as many videos as I normally do. I really got into mountain biking this summer, had a blast doing it. So I was just curious for you guys out there, are you playing the same amount of Blitz, more Blitz, less Blitz? Really interested in what you guys have been doing this year. So let me know in the comments section. If you're new to channel, really helps me out to hit a subscribe button or a like button, and helps promote the channel. I do really appreciate that. And for those of you that have been with me for this year, for years on years, I really appreciate you watching my videos. So we got a lot to cover today. Wanted to quickly jump into the auction. All right, so hopefully I'll get this video up close to the next drop point. So let's just quickly go through the tanks that I think are worth purchasing. I did a full video on all of these most of these tanks. Yeah, they dropped a couple new ones this week after I did my video. But if you need to know more detail about these tanks, watch that one. But anyway, Emil 1951 is going to drop to 4,500 gold. This is a tier 8 heavy tank. Doesn't quite have the armor as the Tech Tree tank. If you have that one in your garage, it does have much better mobility, and you know that that 3-shell autoloader really can push out some damage, getting this thing into the right positions, which is much easier with a faster, more mobile tank. So I like the price point at 4,500 for this tank. The one that I would recommend the most is the French Tank Destroyer. It's another tier 8, the AMX CDA. It's going to be 4,000 gold for a tier 8 tank. And I enjoy this tank a lot because of its mobility. It's got a good, accurate gun. And it's not a play style that you see a lot with the tank destroyers, because most of the time they're pretty heavy, they're slow, they don't get around well. This one actually has some nice frontal armor. You can actually kind of brawl in it to an extent, and you can get around the map, get into better positions, and do more damage in this tank, and it makes it much more fun to play. So highly recommend 4,000 on that one. And then one of the later entries that I didn't really talk about, but I have done a full tank review on it if you want to check that out. The next price drop for the Lance and Sea is 5,000. There's only 1,000 of them left. But this is a nice medium tank. It's got good mobility. It's got a nice accurate gun that has a nice alpha damage. That's not too high, it's not too low. You don't have to wait a long time for a reload, and you don't have to be on target. And this one is a pretty fun tank to play. Outside of that, we didn't really talk about the Skoda. Not a fan. The gun just trolls me way too much on this tank. Progetto, we've seen this tank so many times. Sorry, let me scroll over here. 8,000, I think that's still way too high with what we've seen this thing almost given away for free. And then the Vindicator Ultramarines here, high DPM or high alpha gun, no gun depression on it whatsoever. Tier 7, don't recommend. All right, so let's now talk about a few things before we get into the store. Wanted to talk about the season 2 event, just because I wanted to talk about shards. There's only 6 days left in this event. If you're sitting here close to the end and only need a few shards to fill this tank up, you might want to try to find something in the store to get those shards and fill it up. As you can see, you can just go to upgrade and buy gold per shard. I am not going to be spending 11,815 gold to upgrade this tank. There's no way, that's way too much. But if you're sitting there at 2,000 or 3,000, there might be a few things in the store to help you out there. As far as the Snow Globe event, we're winding down here, just 2 days left. Hopefully you've either worked your way up and gotten yourself a free Snow Globe and gotten a nice tank out of it. Let me know in the comments, I'm interested. But as you can see, I went ahead and I got all 10 Snow Globes. I only got one new tank, and then the XM66F, which you see here in the garage, which is actually quite a fun tank. My teams have been for trash, but as you can see, we're averaging 3,000 damage in 11 battles, 46% win rate. My team just won't stay alive long enough. But anyway, back to this sidetrack there. The reason I point this out, depending upon how many snow globes you have left to get to that 10, the XM66F, there's snow globes for sale in the store. So what I did, I spent 20,000 gold, opened up a bunch of these boxes, got lucky, got some snow globes out of them with the 10% drop chance, and kept getting tanks that I already had, which gave me, for the most part, 7,500 gold, which allowed me to open up 6 more of these containers. And as you can see, opened up, what, 42 plus the free one here of the green ones, and got 1 snow globe out of it. So a 2% drop chance. Not likely to get a tank there. The other one I did want to mention real quick before we get to the store is this little souvenir store, Gumball Event. Hopefully you've got a lot of these and you've cashed them in on the Gumball machine here. You can also do it for the next 9 days with your first win of the game. And the reason I point this out is because there's 5 tier 3 tanks here. Hopefully you already have them in your garage. And the reason I say that is because if you pull them again with a 3% drop chance, you're going to get nearly 1,000 gold out of this. So out of all of the free stuff here, I ended up with 4,000 gold. 3 tanks I already had, plus the 200s for, I think it's every 3 that you open. So anyway, get yourself a little bit of free gold, hopefully, out of that Gumball machine. All right, so now let's jump into the store. As you can see, I did go ahead and purchase that 20,000 gold box. Make sure you fill these up before you buy them. Just as a reminder, we kind of lowered our standard for how much gold you can get for dollar. Inflation, I guess. We used to talk 750. Now I say anything over 650 is a good deal. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing gold. Now, snow globes in sale. I do like seeing this here. I do think $35 for a guaranteed tank is a bit high, considering, it's going to be a tier 8 through tier 10 tank. 2 snow globes drops it to $30 a tank, but 6 snow globes, and I understand this is a lot to expend on this game, drops it to $20 per tank. So I think this may be beneficial for those of you that just don't have many tanks in the game, and you're going to guarantee yourself 6 tanks out of this. But I don't recommend it if you're in my situation, where you're probably going to end up with gold from tanks that you already have. All right, so there are quite a few items here that have guaranteed tanks with them, with these tank certificates. So I'm just going to talk about each and every one of them and kind of put my own spin on it, whether or not I think they are a good deal or not. So $15 multiplied by 650, that's 9,750. We're going to subtract out the 2,500 gold that you're going to get from this, and that makes that certificate basically cost 7,250 gold. So as we know, that's not a horrible price for a tier 8, but I would point out that, you can get some nice tier 8 in the auction right now for half that price. So just keep that in mind as well. And again, the reason I talked about the season and these shards is in case, that little bit of extra shards helps influence you one way or another on the decision making. Just real quick, while we're going through this store, the free XP using gold to convert, this is a very minor, I think it would be like 2,000 instead of 1,700. I do not recommend converting gold into free XP. Get yourself the premium pass and earn your free XP by just playing battles and getting better in this game. Brothers in Arms, I usually talk about these low tiers. Yeah, it does have a tier 5, but $11 for this bundle just really isn't a good deal when you look at what it is that you get out of selling these. A lot of times these small bundles are better when you can just buy and flip the tanks after playing them for a little bit, but not in this deal. So stay away from this one, especially with those tier 3 tanks being in the Gumball machine. You get the little fun of playing tier 3 for a while. All right, wanted to just talk about supply drop. Normally I just skim over these because it's not a great gold to dollar conversion rate, but just wanted to make sure that everyone's aware they may be tempted by these containers. 10 containers here with a 5% drop chance with tanks from tier 10, and a lot of tanks in here. So remember, there's a higher probability of getting a tier 6 or tier 5 tank out of this. But with 10 of these at a 5% drop chance, it gives you a 31% chance of getting a tank. And then this awesome container has higher tier tanks in it and has a 10% drop chance, but you only have 3 tanks. 3 containers. You know, it'd be nice to pull a Smasher. I don't think you'd be upset with a Dracula Annihilator out of this. And then some tier 8s and some tier 9s and some tier 10s. This gives you a 33% chance of dropping a tank. So just be aware, guys, that $18 for 5,000 gold and a 1 in 3 chance, essentially, of getting a tank out of one of these containers really is not a good deal. So this one here is for the true gamblers out there. And remember, 2 out of 3 of you aren't going to come away with a tank. Mystery box, I just want to talk about it real quick. Mystery box 1 here, after you get, I believe it's 13, you go up to a mystery box 2. And the only reason I point out, you can go into your storage area and see how many mystery boxes you've opened, the charms for it. It's hard to tell from down here, but I'm probably at a 1 out of 13 here. And once you do fill that up, you do then automatically get a mystery box 2. And then you can do 2 to 3s. And the what's inside gets better and better. So obviously, I think if you're buying this, you're looking to get a certificate for a tank. Let's just check real quick. It's only a 5% chance of getting a mystery certificate. So unless you just needed 2 or 3 something here, you know, and you wanted to drop 1,500 gold because you got it out of the gumball machine. Other than that, I wouldn't recommend buying the mystery boxes. Stay away from the draws, especially when they don't even have a tank in it. We'll talk about Fire and Ice here. There's not a lot of tanks to talk about. Maybe they'll drop some here at the reset. But, you know, we've seen this bundle so many times. The Glacial is a good, average tier 8 heavy tank, but it's like so many of the other tanks. You probably got a tank very similar to this in your garage. The Blaze is a little unique with a tank destroyer, limited gun turret traverse, but hits pretty hard with a high alpha damage. I think it's like 430 or something. So, you know, price is good, but these are pretty common tanks. Let's stay away from the wonderful offer. These camo and mystery boxes just aren't worth spending this much gold on. Again, stay away from draws. Chinese container. So this one is a guaranteed tank for $18. We multiply by that 650, so that's 11,700 gold. That's expensive for a tank, guys. So just be wary of that. Yeah, it does have the tier 7 to tier 10 guaranteed. One of those tanks, you might come away with a tier 10, you might come away with a tier 7. And then again, with the 10% drop chance with 5 of those, that's a 33% chance of getting another tank. So 2 out of 3 of you will not get a tank out of there. So just probably stay away from this container. There's another one. It's a little bit more expensive that you may be more inclined to get. Let's see. Again, I don't know why they've got Forom Shards here when you can just go buy them one-on-one and get exactly the number that you need. It's highly unlikely that you're going to need that number right there. So anyway, buy them if you want in, you know, from where I showed you earlier. They're tier 10 guaranteed tank for 20,000 gold. You know, shave a little bit off for this 35X and the 3.5 million. Put you at a reasonable price. So this isn't a horrible deal, not a great deal either. But what I wanted to point out is you're going to purchase this. You're going to get a tier tank, and you're going to want to play that tier 10 tank. I guarantee it. But you're going to be wasting those 5X boosters because they apply to all tanks. So my recommendation is if you do decide to buy this one, play your next 30 battles on tanks that you are grinding in the tech tree and get the most out of these 5X boosters. It's like playing 5 battles instead of 1 if you put it on your tech tree tanks. You know, it's a nice list of tanks in here. There's a few that you might not be happy with if you pulled, you know, especially if you pulled like the Object 260, which is for 11,000 right now, not much more for the T22 in the auction. So a little bit of risk with that as well. Just mention, if you haven't already cashed in your IS2 shielded, you can actually sell these, I believe, from what I've read, from your storage. You can exchange them for gold if you haven't already converted that into a certificate for the tank. But this is the one that I wanted to point out because I feel like this one's not that horrible of a deal, right? So we've got $60 and 650. That's 39,000 gold, but we are guaranteeing ourselves 6 tanks for 6,500 gold and quite a large number of shards here. So yeah, I understand that that is a nice amount to spend on Blitz. But you know, the other option there was 120 for 6 snow globes. So you're going to get more tanks, but higher likelihood that these ones are going to be of a lower tier just because there's more tier 7s, excuse me, in these certificates here. But they all have the tier 10 through tier, well, this one actually goes down to a tier 6. So just keep that in mind as well, that you might just end up with a bunch of tier 6 and tier 7 tanks. But I just thought that that was better use of, you know, some money to guarantee yourself 6 tanks. The WZ111's tier 10 heavy tank, I just think that this is way, way, way too much. I mean, what is 42 times 650? Jesus, that's 27,000 gold for a tier 10. No thanks. And you can't even use those 5Xs where you want. So stay away from that one for sure, especially with what's in the auction right now. We've already talked about not to convert gold to free XP. These ones just don't have the conversion of, you know, getting even close to 650 gold per dollar. So don't do that. Certainly do not spend gold on booster packs. And then our very weak and limited tanks in the store. The store has become somewhere to come and buy anything but tanks these days. I do not like the VK16801. There's only 4 days left on this, so this one should be resetting pretty soon, or hopefully there will be a replacement. Did I talk about the tier 10? I don't think I did. Sorry guys, my memory is shot. Yeah, I did talk about the tier 10 here. It just shows up in multiple places here, and I can't remember if I talked about it. But yeah, so I remember now talking about the 35Xs. All right, guys, I'm losing it. So yeah, that's going to round out the store. And of course, guys, if you're new, please hit that like and subscribe and share my channel across YouTube. And for those of you that have been with me for a long time, I really do appreciate it. Hope you have a Merry Christmas. And hey, let me know what you get in the snow globes. Love to see your comments on the YouTube. All right, guys, I'm rambling at this point, so we're gonna wrap it up here. I hope you have fun out there. Stay safe, get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.